Everybody knows how the Americans, the Brits, and the Russians all rushed toward Germany in the months following D-Day. But what were the Canadians doing? They were doing about the most Canadian thing possible, helping the little guy instead of chasing glory. Hello everybody and welcome to History Abridged. It's history, just shorter. Today we're going to be talking about the liberation of the Netherlands at the end of World War II. The Netherlands did not want to get involved in World War II. In fact, they proclaimed their neutrality when the war started and didn't get involved until 1940 when they were invaded. They were devastated by the bombing of Rotterdam and surrendered just 5 days in. The Dutch spent 5 long years under Nazi occupation. In the last year of the war, the Allies landed at Normandy and began running through Europe, liberating towns and cities as they went. In an attempt to liberate the Netherlands, the Allies entered southern Netherlands in 1944, but they were met with a lot of obstacles. They bombed the town of Arnhem, hoping to just rip right through as fast as they could, but the attack failed, and they quickly realized that they are going to need a port to do this effectively. The port city of Antwerp was their choice. It was already free from occupation, except there were 70 kilometers of land between the city and the sea that were still occupied, called the Scheldt Estuary. The 1st Canadian Army, a force containing the 2nd Canadian Corps, as well as Dutch, British, American, and Polish troops, was assigned to clear it out. The Scheldt was ugly. It was flat, soggy, and because a lot of the Netherlands is actually below sea level, it was often flooded. Not to mention the transportation of equipment and troops was limited to long, narrow roads that were almost always exposed to enemy gunfire. Overall, it was not a good place for a fight. The fights in the Scheldt lasted from October to early November. There's a total of 13,000 casualties on the Allied side, but by November 8th, the Scheldt was secured, and by November 28th, it was clear of mines. This allowed the Allied forces to roll right on through. The 1st Canadian Army was reinforced sometime later, bringing its total up to 450,000 men, the largest army ever commanded by a Canadian. When the rest of the Allies crossed the Rhine into Germany, the 1st Canadian Army kept pushing the Germans out of the Netherlands. They were met with stiff fighting, and when the Germans realized that they were losing, they started destroying infrastructure and blocking roads to hamper the Canadian advance. Despite the hardships, the Canadians were greeted as heroes as they liberated small towns and big cities, including Rotterdam, The Hague, and Amsterdam. You're welcome, stoners. On May 5th, the 1st Canadian Corps accepted the German surrender in the Netherlands. 2 days later, Germany formally surrendered, ending the war in Europe. The liberation of the Netherlands put an end to what is known as the Hunger Winter, the Dutch Famine of 1944, literally Hunger Winter. 30,000 people starved to death, and severe malnutrition was commonplace in the winter of 44 to 45. The Germans had cut off all fuel and food shipments into the western provinces, where 4.5 million people lived. This was in response to a railway strike ordered by the exiled Dutch government. More than 7,600 Canadians died fighting in the Netherlands. They were buried in official war cemeteries. Not to mention the 205,901 Dutch men, women, and children who died as a result of war-related causes, half of whom were Holocaust victims. This was the highest per capita death rate of all Nazi-occupied nations. To this day, Canada is remembered as liberators and saviors to the Dutch. And every year since the war, the Dutch government sends the Canadian government thousands of tulips in thanks. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you liked that video, hit the like button. If you want to subscribe, hit that subscribe button. And if you want to know when I put up new videos, hit the bell icon. If you have any ideas for future episodes, please leave them in the comments. If you have something to say about this particular episode, again, leave that in the comments. And as always, this is History Abridged.